Jennifer just tells us.
Hey, ready, guys?
The general fund through the month of our, on an annual basis, and it shows year to date. So
Yes.
everything through today, we've collected everything. Nothing stands out as a red alert at this point.
Okay, that's the expenses. And the reason we're going to do it this way, Ms. Myers, is so the people in the public can see. They don't get all this that we get.
Right.
So we want to hit the highlights. So you're saying the actual expense to the budget expenses in line, and that's the same with the revenue?
Revenues and expenses. There are no red flags at this point in the year.
Okay, how many funds do we have in the general, besides the general fund?
16?
16? And you have those in this package here?
Yes, sir.
And each one of those are nothing out of line based on what our ending budget, our proposed budget
No,
was?
sir, not at this point in the year. It's still
Okay.
early, so.
There's no funds with a deficit?
There are funds with deficits. So the jail fund has a running deficit, but we are making that up.
And how much is that deficit?
We are at 6.8 million. If you think about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were over 10 million. So we are slowly eating away at that deficit.
Okay.
As the sales tax increases and we maintain a normal level of expenditures, that will go away.
And that deficit's being paid by the 1/4 cents? Is that?
25% of the 1 penny sales tax, yes.
Yes, okay. What is the most significant change we've seen since last year's adopted budget?
So our insurance costs were more than we had hoped they were going to be. I want to say that Louisiana had 5 major events for insurance purposes, so everybody knew property insurance was going to go up. I think we saw almost a 7% increase in our property insurance, which is a pretty decent number. I think all in auto and property and crime, we're right at $700,000 worth of insurance premiums this year.
Almost a year increase? I mean, almost a million increase, which you said 7 what?
The total, we've spent about 460 last year, and we're at about $700,000.
Okay, $300,000 increase, okay.
Other than having to buy, we recently had to buy an asphalt roller, or we gave permission for DPW to secure a new asphalt roller. Ours is just falling apart. There's nothing that's not budgeted. Of course, they have dollars in their budget line item for those expenditures should they come up, so it's nothing outside of the budget.
You don't have to answer this tonight if you don't have this in front of you. What steps do we take to have a fair and open and competitive purchasing process? What do we do?
We follow the Louisiana bid law, so
And what does that entail?
anything, there are thresholds. It depends on what you're purchasing. So if you're buying a piece of equipment, if it's over $10,000 estimated cost, you have to get 3 quotes and keep those with your documentation. If it's over $50,000 or whatever that number is indexed each year, it changes each year.
So a person,
You have to put it out for bid.
a person out in the field, he can't just go get a purchase order and purchase something, right?
It depends on what it is. So in our purchasing procedures, we have certain individuals that can authorize a purchase. So let's say just the average office worker or DPW worker, if they wanted to purchase something, they would have to go through their supervisor. The supervisor probably has permissions in our accounting system where they log into the requisitions module and say, I'd like to purchase 2 buckets. And that gets approved by the purchasing approver for that department, and it comes through our purchasing agent. If she sees something that doesn't look right, she'll run it through me. But if she looks and says this is a normal purchase, that they have the budget for it, she just goes ahead and approves it and orders it. So it has to stop through at least 3 people before it gets purchased.
Okay. What is the role, if any role, of the finance department in awarding or scoring parish government contracts?
Repeat that, I'm sorry.
Does the finance department play any role in scoring or securing or awarding contracts, government
Yes.
contracts?
So our purchasing employee, Jennifer Fridella, is the one who, it's her responsibility to keep up with the bid law and know which items have to be bid out and which not. If there's something that she needs multiple people to sit in on, like, so if it's something that we're putting out for bid, so every year we put out materials for bid, sand, rock, whatever, bridge materials. Normal stuff, everybody knows the drill. They all submit their bids. She emails around and says, hey, I need you to sit in on a bid opening. So I might sit in. One time the parish president sat in. We may have one of the grant girls come over and sit in. It just depends. And typically those people who put bids in sit in on that bid opening as well. It's a standard score sheet. We grade it out. Low price basically wins on those. Now others that are a little more complicated, if there's an engineer involved, the engineer usually puts those out for bid, grades them, scores them, and turns them in to like Mr. Sam for approval or Mark for approval, or it just depends on, who's running, if it's a DPW project or a grant or such.
Anyone have any questions for financial? Yes. Yes.
If you would, stay here, because my question's going to be directed at you. Years ago, I forgot when, I was on the Denham Springs City Council. We were approached by a developer to create Bass Pro Boulevard in a tax increment financing called the TIF. And to do that, we had to go through the vote of the people. And there was a big hoorah back then that it was going to, a lot of taxing entities, such as the parish, the school board, the drainage district, some fire districts, gave up a portion of their tax revenue to do Bass Pro to make it happen, to attract that business. Some of the major benefits was not just people can go buy fishing lures and stuff like that. It created a major thoroughfare. With that money, we built Bass Pro Boulevard, which ties Range Avenue straight to 4-H Club Road. It's been a major relief. I mean, traffic is still bad there, but that, if it wasn't for that, it'd be even worse. And if it's my understanding, we went to the vote of the people. There were some people in opposition to it, and then there was a lot of people in favor, but it passed. And so, but we knew that day was going to come when those bonds would be paid off. And I think those bonds are, as of now, paid off, or just right at the threshold. And my question to you is, do you have any projections of how much revenue increase that the parish is going to get now that the bonds are paid off?
Okay, I can answer that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say it was
Thank you, John.
I want to say it was last October that we really could start seeing that money, so it wasn't like some additional, it wasn't a clearly stated number of additional revenue. I'm sure, Mr. Curtis, that the school board could actually narrow that figure down for you, but we can't see it on the reports that we get. But we did start seeing the increase in sales tax. I want to say it was last October, but I'm not positive. So it's simply, we stopped giving up that money to pay down the bonds. So once the bonds were paid off, that money flowed through to all of the sales tax departments just like normal. So if you look historically and see the little bit of an increase about last October, that's simply also from inflation and people purchasing more stuff, but a lot of that is Bass Pro's no longer holding all of those revenues to pay the debt.
Any questions from council? One more question. I've received an email today. Have we received any funds for supplemental pay for JPs and constables?
Yes, sir. We receive a standard dollar amount per month. It's a reimbursement to the parish.
Are they claiming they're not getting that money?
That's not true, actually. Well, it could be true. It depends on how you look at it. It's semantics. So the parish council has an ordinance passed that states how many dollars per month we are going to pay our JP and constables. We increased it not too long ago, Sandy. I don't know if you remember, but within the last 2 years, I want to say we have increased that dollar amount that we're paying JPs and constables. So the state supplemental pay is a reimbursement to the parish, regardless of how much we pay the JP and the constables, and the amount that we get reimbursed from the state is not as much as we pay the JP and constables. So we're actually paying them more per our ordinance than the state reimburses us.
So the $240 a month, we keeping that instead of giving it to the JPs
No, sir. It's not that we're keeping money that should be going to them. We're paying them more than we are supposed to pay them per revised statute. So we agreed per ordinance.
So in September of this year, when Senator Bodie White passed this bill to supplement the pay of the constables and the JPs, that bill passed, and I have documents that show that this money since October has been deposited in our account. That didn't benefit the constables and the JPs. It benefited the parish. That doesn't
Correct,
seem right.
because we were already paying them more than we have to pay them per ordinance. Now, if you want to pay them more, you simply change the ordinance, and finance does whatever the ordinance says.
Well, it's a one-year deal. It's a one-year deal that he appropriated, and I just didn't seem fair that he appropriated for the constables and JPs, and then we keeping it. It just don't seem fair. But
We're
it's not
paying
an
them
issue
more than
that,
we get from the state.
Yeah, I understand that. It's not even necessary that they pay supplemental pay, so they are working just like the councilman at a bare minimum, but we attack that at a different time. Now I got information to give them, okay? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Discuss on the new business, discussion and recommendations of billing for Nortec and public access, channel equipment and services. You skipped over it.
I skipped over it, and I did explain about it. She has picked up the bill and is going to write that check out tomorrow. She's going to write that out.
My bill?
Is that your bill? Whose bill was that? Oh, no.
No, because I put in a public records request a couple of weeks ago, and I've worked very well with Miss Sandy on it and
Yes.
everything. And one or two of the councilmen suggested that we go through Nortec for 6 months' worth of emails that I requested, that I am, by law, the Sunshine Law, supposed to get. I can look at them, I can take pictures of them, I can bring my own copier machine and everything. Nortec wants to charge me to beginning $200 per person, which is averaging out $6,000 for public records requests. That is just the beginning. It can go up to $300, and it can wind up being up to $10,000 without the text messages.
Okay, that doesn't seem logical or even fair.
Because according to the Sunshine Law, I can look at any and everything, present it to me, I can take a picture of it, I can observe, I can look at anything. And then on top of that, they want me to, if I want something, I have to pay 50 cents per page if I want it copied.
Okay, do we have any explanations from anybody here?
We have a policy procedure that
If 50 cents may be all right, okay, but she's talking about $6,000. That's a lot big.
That was an estimate.
Yeah.
And that's not including, because it's supposed to be more than that.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a
Yeah.
question?
Talk to Brad Cassio as well, from Brad said. Us would be the ones that would run.
I would like for the council to actually take a vote on it to see if that's,
It just seems, and I'm going to give Ms. Sandifer the floor. Go ahead, and then I'll
I just need
finish.
to clarify, that's for email? That's electronic?
yes, $6,000 so far. And that's not including the text messages.
That's not for hard copies, that's for email?
That's for email.
Electronic, okay.
Right, that's for any of it, starting off. I have the text, I have the emails. I'm rather very discouraged because I've been doing this for like 15 years and I've never been charged this amount of money. Y'all are the keeper of the records. I'd understand if they were 10 years old records, but not even 6 months. This is ridiculous.
And I feel like we got to solve this problem. We have any suggestions? I mean, public records is that for the public. And Ms.
We don't have access to y'all's,
Who has that access?
the council member does, and North.
So I can get it from the individual councilman? They can give it to me?
I'm okay with it, but how you do it?
It's such a vast request for 6 months.
Okay, let's put this item on the agenda so we can discuss this. What is appropriate? Is that going to be, if we got to change it? Did Chris, is that an ordinance or just an opinion?
Just an opinion.
Just opinion. So we can make our own rule, right? So let's put it in
Definitely think we should look into it more.
yes, that's unreasonable. That's very unreasonable. Do we think,
I mean, Ms. Sandy's been wonderful with working with me on this and trying to,
yes. Okay, let's try the ordinance committee, if we got to have an ordinance. Let's try the ordinance committee, and we'll discuss at the next meeting and see if we can get a resolution. 6,000 is too much for people that needs to see. That's way too much. It's got to be a cap or a limit,
I
something.
mean, I understand being keeper of the records. I've always before, they've had the records here. I don't know when it stopped keeping the records here, or even if I can get them from the individual councilman, or even if the employees want to give me, and I'll pay 50 cents per copy of whatever. But
Right.
I'm thinking that 6,000 plus is way too much.
Well, we got to disconnect. We got to be more transparent to the public, and we got to fix that, and that's our job. And we're going to get it on the ordinance committee. That's Mr. Shane Mack, and we'll discuss it at the next meeting, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody
else from Miss Jennifer? Miss Jennifer, you need any?
I just wanted to hit the highlights. So sales tax for 2022, year ended, we ended up collecting about almost $2 million over what we budgeted. Some of that's the Bass Pro additional revenue. A lot of it is just because prices on everything have gone up. So our AR progress, I am super happy that we've made significant progress in the past few months. We are 92% collected on our 2016 flood, and I know like 2016 was a long time ago, but you have no idea how slow the federal government moves when they have to give you money. So we are only out about $322,000 at this point. So of the original 22.8 million, that's pretty good, I think. Some of it was an FIP reduction we're just not going to get back. We did receive our Berry reimbursement, and we're almost 80% fully collected or reimbursed for Hurricane Ida. We're still outstanding about $5 million. So I'm super excited about that. And then I just wanted to keep you updated on the ARPA funds have generated almost $400,000 in interest to fund the animal shelter, keeping the doors open. So we're able to keep the lights on over there for a few more years with that revenue.
Do we have any surplus money that can be used for grant, matching grant money?
We are, I want to say we're using about 7.5 million to as our 10% match. So we're getting 70 million of drainage money, we're able to get now that we have a 10% match.
Do we have any money that's in a savings account drawing interest for a certain amount, that's locked up for a certain amount of time?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Great job, Ms. Myers. Thank you so much. Motion adjourned?
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourned.